Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to another Genshin Impact reaction. Today we have a song that has a title I'm going to say as American as I can, just to piss off any people who happen to know German in the comments. Rächer of Solnari. Everyone's gonna hate that. But both Harshit and Lightning wanted me to get to this, as well as all the people who liked their comments, so obviously I'm gonna get to this one today, and without further ado, let's go! Ah. Okay, bondage. Good place to start. Why else would you be dressed like that? Like, for real. Damn, okay. Oh, oh man. Great switch up on the rhythm there. Some familiar instruments from all the other Welcome Moon stuff. I really love that they keep these other instruments in there and don't just get rid of them. Okay. You get more of that, like, it's like a chain sound in there. Okay. Oh. I love those vocals in there, too. Plenty of tension in here. Works great for a boss theme. Oh man, a change up again. Sitting on those triplets. I love that. That's so different, you know? Just kind of leaning into those odd rhythms. Oh. Okay, we're like settling back in a little bit. I know we're gonna ramp back up, but gotta have that emotional weight come back in, make you feel the pressure. Ooh, okay. Just a transition there, all right. A little unfair. Leaving you hanging like that. So now we get more of the same from the first part, but I know they're gonna evolve on it. These like chugs that are in here too. I didn't even know that could do that. Is that the hurdy-gurdy or is that the other one? Which name escapes me. I didn't know they could like do like dig it, like patterns like that. And this is that evolution I was talking about. Adding more to it. Ooh, vocals. Like choir vocals. vocals, not just like the atmospheric solo stuff we were getting. See, like, this feels almost triumphant. Oh, what was that little bit there at the end? Oh, what the hell is that? Hold on. Was that a voice? Oh, that was sick. Whatever that, it had like a texture to it. It might have been a vocal sample there. Weird. Okay. All right. So I went to go double check. It was the nickel harpa was the instrument I couldn't think of the name of. This wasn't a nickel harpa. It doesn't have that same kind of like grinding chug that a hurdy-gurdy has because it's a completely different mechanic that runs them. A nickel harpa is a little bit more, in my opinion, it feels more like organic when you play it because you don't have something grinding against the strings actively like you do with a hurdy-gurdy, and that's definitely what this song had. I just, for a second there, had doubt. I was pretty sure it was a hurdy-gurdy, but they can sound similar. It's that, like, droning grinding that makes the difference, though, 100%. But that one spot I was bringing it up for was really cool because I didn't really know that a hurdy-gurdy could be, like, doubled back like that. The way they were doing that with like how you grind a hurdy-gurdy, you just kind of have a crank that you constantly go on, and I didn't know you could like crank it back and forth like that to create that like rhythmic sort of staccato sound. So that was really cool just hearing that. It's like I think I've heard that before, but I assumed it was like a stop go method but not like a reverse and go, which this one had very clearly in it, which I think was really cool. But more in the broad spectrum, the vibe of this one was perfect. Again, I love that they're staying so consistent with the area. I like that they don't just go, okay, it's a boss, and they might not be 100% directly related to this area, so let's just ignore all of the sound design and the consistency from the area and just make them their own theme. They don't do that. They keep things very, very consistent. If you're in an area, they write the song around that part of the world's music, and they use those instruments and that inspiration, which is so fucking cool because that keeps you in the world while also changing what's being done to reflect the character. Of course, this song is definitely the most like intimidating song I've heard from this area, even including the Fatui stuff I've heard so far. It's just, this is a different level of oh shit, you know? It just has that energy to it. There's just an aura that follows this song around, and apparently that aura's name is the Moon Hunter, so that's pretty fucking sick actually. But again, in like the broader scope of this composition, we had those like chugs and those definitive rhythm changes, like those ones that I was like, whoa, that's different, because it wasn't consistent. It broke away from the norm. It had weird stuff that felt very against the grain when it comes to the rhythmic structure of basically any song. Usually they're a little bit more static and consistent. This one was like, no, we need to throw some wrenches in there and do some weird stuff, like continuing to bring back those triplets and adding in those weird patterns between to kind of bridge that separation. As per usual, I don't know the character, I don't know their motivation, I can only see their design obviously, so I'm sitting here like, what would this character's motivation be to have something like that in their song? Their theme being something that has these moments that kind of jostle against the norm, and of course they're a villain, so you're already kind of expecting that, but usually that's just reflected in the melody, the harmonies, the usual structure of the chords themselves, not so much the rhythm. Usually the rhythm, when it's reflected for a character, is something that is so much more fine-tuned to what their goal is, not just the fact that, ooh, spooky enemy, maybe they're a bad guy, woo, you know, it's just the usual shit. Having rhythmic changes like that, especially ones that are so seemingly random, honestly, it makes me wonder if this character isn't all there, like they might be a little insane potentially, because they are a smidge randomized. They're not completely random, and the song itself does follow an expected structure, at least when it comes to the melody and everything, so I don't think they're like completely unhinged like I've heard a few times in other games and other songs. It's just, this one has moments where it almost feels like there's cracks, you know? It's just, there's these little things where it's like, okay, they're not 100% there. It's not that they're insane yet, but they definitely have moments of, let's say, inconsistency in their beliefs or inconsistency in how they go about what their goal is, and it's probably something very detrimental to the rest of the people around them. Very much one of those, I'll do whatever I need to, and I don't care if you're in my way, and that sort of mentality can obviously be dangerous, so having something in the rhythm that reflects that is pretty important to do. And of course, in general, this one just had that like intensity to it, that it follows that energy of like, oh shit, we need to get this done. There's something strong here, there's something that we gotta take care of, and that intensity is reflected in the chords chosen, which is honestly this progression pretty standard for a lot of bosses. I've heard this progression a few times before in other boss themes. Not necessarily the same rhythm or anything, just these chords. They're pretty common for like, okay, here's somebody strong, here's something that's a threat, let's use these ones. It's just the way to do things. Make things hit a minor balance, and there you go. But that's obviously not to minimize what it did, especially with the rhythms in here. That was really fun. Using the hurdy-gurdy that way, super creative in my opinion. I don't hear that too often, even though I've heard a lot of hurdy-gurdy stuff in my time. But then there's also like that bridge where I thought it was just going to be like a little bit of a moment, and then they straight up only made it the moment. I thought we were going to be going straight into the second phase, but instead it was more of an intro and had more of a hang on it. Like, I don't know how much of it was actually the songs versus the uploader. It very well could have been them adding a bit of a gap there, but this could have straight up been like all of the decay and then immediately starting the next one, which means there's this like at least 5-second gap of just nothing in there, and that leaves a lot of room for your brain to sit and kind of contemplate what's coming next. You know, when you have like this honestly kind of beautiful intro, you're like, oh, maybe there's a little bit of hope here. It kind of gets your spirits up, and then nope, never mind, we're back at it. Like I said during the reaction, very much of the same, but they did level it up. They had more included. They added the extra vocals, which those textured vocals in there too, those like solo vocals from the first part, really, really neat, just having those in there. I do love my sound design, as we all know, and as I talk about all the time, and this song definitely did not shy away from having those little things in there to really spice up the percussive elements, because they're treating the voices, at least in that first part, much more like a percussive element. It's in the background, it's just this texture that kind of floats around and adds to that atmosphere, whereas in the second one we do get that, but they also give us the greater chorus vocals, so like that's additional information for the melody, and it's not really the same thing or used for the same purpose. It's just also vocals, which doesn't mean that it has to be melodic. Just like at that end part, whatever that little like moment was there that I kept repeating, I still can't fully tell. That sounded almost like a throat singing thing, like a kind of just an expulsion of air really at the end, just a singular note, and like that was it. And again, it was very percussive. It wasn't supposed to be something melodic, I don't believe. But I also couldn't quite tell if it was a voice or not. Like, it really could have been anything. It could have been some sort of percussive outro using the hurdy-gurdy. I don't know what happens when you slap a hurdy-gurdy, do you? Like, that's what I'm talking about. There's something vague, ambiguous that they leave this song on, which makes me again feel like that's on purpose for the character and how the fight ended, or how they're going to react or respond to you winning. There's a lot of potential there, and I don't know the character or what the outcome of the fight would be, so maybe there is something to do with that narratively. But either way, that's basically all I've got to say on this one. It was fun. When this one wasn't the most unique when it comes to chord progression, it had plenty to give when it came to the percussion and the rhythms in general, the switching up of that, and using, like I said, the hurdy-gurdy in that more creative way. This one had a lot to offer, and it added to that intensity. All of it felt so strong. It felt so intense the whole way through, and even in that beautiful little bridge that we had there, it was still leaving me going, I don't know, and they did that really well. But I'm done yapping now, so thank you all so very much for watching. If you have another song you want me to get to from Genshin, by all means, let me know in the comments below, and I will do my best as always to get to those. But if you don't want to do any of that, maybe you just want to follow me and support me for more stuff coming in the future, you know how to do all that, and I will see all of you in the next video. Goodbye!